Welcome to the Savvy Leader Podcast. I'm Kristin, and I'm here to challenge how you think, lead, and show up. Because this isn't about surface level success. This is about clarity, alignment, and making decisions that actually move your life forward. If you're ready to stop performing and start leading with real intention, then you are in the right place, my friends. All right, here we go, you guys. Welcome back to the Savvy Leader Podcast. I'm Kristin. Today, I am joined by a good friend and just an all-around amazing woman, Sarah Filipi. She is owner of Sarah Grace Photography, specializing in portrait photography, which is near and dear to her heart. She's also branched off into what is called the Wellness Compass to kind of embody all of her eco-conscious beliefs and things that matter to her. She also likes to describe herself as an artist, a current day hippie, and recovering paralegal. I love it so much. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to a fun conversation with you. We always have such great conversations, so I'm glad that this time we got to record it. Thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit about yourself, and I know there's a lot there, but maybe you could just touch on how you went from being a paralegal to owning your own photography. You know, they're so different in the creative space there. And where you're at today and some of the things that are keeping you going right now.
For sure. Well, thanks, Kristin. It's always fun to run into you and to chat with you. We always have such good energy. You're right. I was a paralegal for 12 years and then did the whole, went to school for that thing. And then I was sitting in Greenbelt training one day and with a room of a bunch of other people, and all of a sudden I was taking notes on my lap. I was writing down notes, and all of a sudden tears just kind of started to drip down my face and onto the notepad. And I was like, oh no. Like there's 20 other people in this room. So I'm just keeping my head down, writing my notes. And then we had a quick break and I ran to the bathroom and just ugly girl cried for 5 minutes. And I realized that what was happening was that my heart had finally, or my brain had finally caught up with my heart, or the heart caught up with the brain, one of those two. And I realized that I was on the wrong path and that I couldn't do it anymore. And so I kind of had that revelation, and I thought I read this quote that I still love and remember, and it was, "You may be holding somebody else's dream job hostage." And so I was like, wow, that's a really crazy way to look at this, a very different perspective. And so I kind of that day got out of the bathroom and I made a plan to my exit strategy, basically from the legal field. And so I had already started my photography business, and with the Secretary of State, just let it hang out on the side. Wasn't really doing anything with it, and I went into my manager and asked her kind of if I could do this work part-time while I, ramped up the photography thing. And it just didn't seem like it was a sustainable option for me. I was kind of setting myself up for failure in the legal field, in my current job. And so I had to walk in with my resignation the next day. And so, it was a process. I'm a planner by nature, and so I did all the planning things, got all the steps into place, and it wasn't the next day that I handed in my resignation, but it was 6 months after. So I did all the things, and then I just kind of I needed to go full steam into it. But I did have a meltdown on my last day as I was driving away from the campus, and I just started crying again. I called my girlfriend who was working in the legal field in the department that I had just left, and I said, "What the hell did I just do? Do you think they'll take me back?" She's like, "Don't worry about it, Sarah. Don't this career's not going anywhere. If you want to come back to it, it's always going to be here." So that was my big leap, and it's been roller coaster since then. I mean, I had to go back and do some legal work at some point. And that's okay, I did it. But then I realized how disconnected I was from that world. It it didn't fit me anymore. It didn't jive with who I was, and I knew that it wasn't the right path for me.
Wow. I think that that's an amazing story. And I love how crystal clear you remember it. I mean, you
Yeah.
even remember like green belt training. What was that about? What was green belt training? Because my mind went to like some kind of coaching. And I can't think of it. Six Sigma is what I was thinking
Yes.
about. Was it Six Sigma? Oh,
Yep, that's what it was. Yeah, my manager wanted me to lead other teams in the legal department for like change management type of stuff. And I just thought, I'm not doing this company any good. This isn't, I'm not doing myself any good. So it was, they wanted me to move forward. And I was like, this way, I want to go this way.
wow. So
So,
not only were you were working your way up. So I mean, you were a valuable part of the team that you were on, and yet you just weren't feeling it. Like you didn't feel like this was the place for you to be so much so, but you were pushing and pushing and pushing yourself and trying to force it that you got to a point where you kind of had a bit of a breakdown. And I think that knowing that and I mean and I can hear it in your voice that you still feel the feelings that you felt that day about all of it because it is that kind of huge it is a meltdown like when you finally allow yourself to accept the idea that you're not walking on the right path.
yeah.
I mean, all the time and the money you've invested in probably education, the work you've been doing, with the company, and you worked your butt off, I'm sure, because you were excelling. So it's just amazing to hear such a very clearly defined aha moment.
Yeah. And I mean, like those things, I mean, people might ignore them, right? But it's just like, it's one of those things that if you don't address it, it's just going to keep building up until something else happens, right? And that could be something with your health. It could be something with a different type of breakdown, right? It could be a disease that starts to manifest in your body. So it's just, yeah, I'm always a person that kind of listens to your heart, listens to what your body is telling you. And my body was like, nah, no more.
Well,
So,
and yeah, trusting yourself in that way. Do you feel like have you always been a trusting person, or was that something you developed or something? Tell us a little bit more about what it's like to be so trusting of yourself and your heart like that.
yeah. I think I vividly remember like when I was growing up, like when I was a teenager, I remember it really not giving a crap what anybody thought about me. And I mean, that's good and bad, right? So you don't want to be like completely blindsided and, go through life being a rude person or things like that. But I really just kind of always, I don't know if it was just, the values that my parents instilled in me, but I would feel like it was just kind of an innate ability that I had to just kind of keep following your own path, like be happy, do the things, feel sad, feel all the things, but move forward in a path that feels good for you. And I don't know. I always remember that I was just like, well, if somebody doesn't like what I'm doing, like, that's fine. That's something that they have to hold on to, not something that I have to hold on to. And so I always tried to do things that brought me joy. Even jobs. I remember like if I hated a job, I would quit. I remember I had a job at this, oh my God, it was a assembly line one summer. I had like 3 jobs in the summer, and I was assembly line thing, like throwing Disney stuff into like a package and like shipping it out. Like the thing was going by and you like stuffing the stuffing the boxes. And I did it for like 2 days, and I'm sitting next to this girl and I was like, how can you do this? Like, I can't, like, I'm going insane. Like, I remember, and then I finally was like, I was so distraught. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be such a failure if I quit. But then I was like, I can't spend 3 months doing this. Like, I'm going to slip my wrist or something. Like, this is not going to work. So I just went out like, I'm not going back.
Good for you. And maybe, I mean, I think I can relate to that. One or two summer jobs of my own that were just like, yeah, no, I don't think I'll be back there.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I think that that's amazing that you have such confidence and resilience in yourself and the person you are, the person that you embody and who you are all about. I think that's amazing. Good for you. I applaud that kind of strength and I'm just excited for you. I'm going to just touch on super quick. Sarah does have a little construction happening at her house today, guys. So if you hear some drilling in the background, it's not your speakers or your audio. It's actually happening, but it's not too bad. But we won't worry about that. Just a heads up. Anyway, but you started Sarah Grace Photography then while you were still a paralegal. So there was a part of you that yearned for this creative side. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I flip-flopped a lot back and forth in college between paralegal studies and doing the photography stuff. And so as a planner and as a very logical person, the logical side won out when I graduated. But I never really let go of that creative side. I enjoyed doing the litigation work because it kept me busy and there was always something different to learn, something new to experience. But there was always that, like, the creative outlet was missing, right? It was just getting like stuffed and it was just getting stuffed down inside of me and it didn't have a way to exit. So I continue to take photography classes and shoot pictures and develop film and do all that kind of stuff. Yes, I totally dated myself there, but I continue to do that, and I love to just be able to share that with people and to take pictures of nature stuff. And so that was really calming for me. So I kind of found my solace there. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I have seen some of your very amazing work. Like I've seen some of the photos that you've taken that are just incredible. And I know some of the stories have been kind of harrowing for you to get just that perfect angle. There's two things I wanted to touch on with your photography. One is you've got a special kind of perspective when it comes to photography, though. You're really eco-conscious, which is kind of plays into your latest endeavor of the Wellness Compass. But talk to us a little bit about what you do differently that's so eco-conscious in photography, and certainly it's a passion for you.
Yes. I grew up with parents that were very eco-conscious themselves. And so a lot of things, I remember, like, if we wanted paper to draw on, my mom would have like the backside of scrap paper, right? And I remember she would even go so far as to like make a notepad, like she would bind it and make a notepad of scratch paper and like leave it next to the phone for like writing notes down and stuff. So if I wanted to color or draw or something, she would always be giving me recycled paper, scratch paper. So that was just literally like a part of how I grew up. So it kind of became a part of who I was, because I saw the value in it. I saw the value of not taking more than you need, to be very conscious about what you're consuming, and what you're purchasing, what you're using, how you live your life. And so that just kind of naturally became a part of me. When I started the photography business, I felt so guilty about printing images because I felt like I was creating trash. And that was a really hard block for me to get over. And I remember being at a conference, and I was talking to one of I don't remember if she was another photographer or she was an artist or worked at the printing company, or I think she was an artist. And she's like, Sarah, you have to get over that. She's like, we have to find a way for you to share your artwork with the world. And I was even afraid that I wouldn't even print anything. So I'd get all the pictures and I'd edit them and I'd leave them on the computer. And I was so afraid that if I printed it, it wouldn't look like it did on the computer screen. So I was like, I would just like go send it to my clients and be like, here you go. I don't want to see the pictures if you print them out. It was awful. But I found at that conference, I started to look for eco-friendly paper options. And so I found like bamboo paper and recycled paper to print on. And then that made me feel so much better. So that's kind of how I kind of baby stepped into that whole world. And then I found an album company that I could literally like get the album and like put it in the recycle bin if I wanted to, because it was made out of linen covers. The pages were eco-friendly. They were literally like you could recycle them. They were cotton or something around that nature. And then their actual ink was soy-based ink, so it wasn't anything harmful to the environment. And so that made me feel better. So each step along the way, I found vendors that also aligned with my own beliefs regarding the eco-consciousness. And so that makes me feel so much better. And then I won't offer products to my clients unless they align with my values. So lucky for them, or unlucky for them.
Lucky for them, for sure. And I think that's so amazing. And then that's where your self-described hippie comes from. And I think that's so great. I love how your parents had influenced you in that way, and your mom, and how specific. You have very specific and vivid memories. You've got a really detailed memory. Good for you.
My husband wouldn't agree with that, but
oh my gosh, like you remember things in such detail. I'm like, whoa, that's impressive. So thinking about how you described yourself as, I don't give a crap what people think about me. Is that a technique that you help your clients feel like when you're taking their photographs and things? How do you help clients feel at ease when you're taking portraits like that?
yeah, I try to, I don't actually like my own portrait being taken. I'm always the one, if I'm on the other side of the camera, making the really ridiculous faces and sticking my tongue out and like doing like crazy poses, because that's just who I am. So I understand that when somebody holds like a big lens right in front of you, it can be a little intimidating. I completely understand that. And so I literally just like, I want to bring out the beauty that I see in other people. And so the best way that I know how to do that is to make people laugh. And to make people laugh is to make people feel comfortable. And so when the clients originally, like when our portrait clients come in, we have a hair and makeup artist that they get pampered with at the beginning. And so that I feel like puts them at ease. So they have like that 45 minutes to just kind of like decompress after they've gotten here. So if they've got, if they were in traffic, or if they've had, an icky day so far, or if they just got off a bad phone call, or whatever they left behind, they're now sitting in this chair and they're getting pampered. And we're just chatting like you and I are chatting. We're just chatting about life, chatting about, whatever, their kids, their dogs, their work, their anything. And so just like doing those little things to help people feel more relaxed and more comfortable is just, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's just part of who I am. And I like to get to know people one-on-one. Everybody's got a very interesting story to share. And I've always believed that everybody has something to teach us. And so I'm waiting for that nugget of whatever this person has to teach me.
That is so beautiful. I just think it's amazing. I love your perspective and how you approach working with your clients in that way and pampering them in such a way. I think what an experience for them to, what a journey for them to go through. I would imagine that at the end of each photo shoot, you guys separate on, just an amazing new friend, right?
Always hugs at the end.
That's so great. That's just so great. Okay. All right. So let's switch gears a little bit. Your wellness compass. Let's talk a little bit about how that came to be. I mean, certainly we can see that you're very eco-conscious, so there's a tie-in there. But this goes a little bit further and beyond. But now we're also learning how much you enjoy helping people feel good. So share with us where the wellness compass came from.
Yes. So my photography business is a little bit cyclical in the calendar year. And so in the winter is typically my slow period, and I'm okay with that. However, I do get very bored very quickly. And so there was another little side story. There was a when I was in high school, I used to work out with this guy called Gilad. I am absolutely dating myself right now, but Gilad was this guy. I think he was from Israel, and he worked out on the beaches of Hawaii somewhere. I don't know, with his entourage like behind him, right? Do you remember Gilad? No. Okay. Anyways,
Oh,
so
I don't. I wish I did though.
you have
Jeez,
to
it
look
sounds
him up
amazing.
now.
I am.
He
I
was he
am.
was like the modern day Rock, right? Like he's just
Oh,
like
okay.
huge, like totally buff. And so I remember I was like, one day I want to be like totally physically fit, just like Gilad, right? And so I was like, so when I got bored in the winter, I was like, I think I want to teach group fitness. And I had a girlfriend, the same girlfriend that I called as I was leaving the corporate office, and who were reaffirmed, she was also a group fitness instructor. And I remember her coming into the meeting one morning, and she was just like, oh, I'm late. I just got done teaching. And I was like, wow, people lead such interesting lives, like outside of work, right? And so that's kind of how it all tumbled. And so I started doing my studies for the group fitness instructor, and then got certified in that. And then so I've been teaching, and I teach I go into independent senior living facilities, and we do exercises with them. So chair exercises or aqua classes. And after a couple years, well, after many years of doing that, I realized that I can help people on a deeper level with that. And so that's kind of how the wellness company started, because I went back and I got certified as a health and wellness coach, because I was like, if I can help people with their fitness, there's more to health than just fitness. There's an entire circle of stuff that is involved in being well, right? And so I wanted to help people. I just want to help people feel better, right? And so that encompasses not just your physical fitness, but your mental health, and your food, your your social beings, your social circles, all the things, your financial, your relationships, everything. So I wanted to just help people more, and more and more and more, and I just keep adding.
I love it though. And so I'm wondering though, where do you see the future of Sarah Grace and the Wellness Compass now that you're certainly really, you're all in. It sounds like when you have something that you're passionate about, you're like, I'm getting this, I'm doing that, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and you're just like full on, all in. So how does that work with having two companies that you're so passionate about in two kind of different ways?
It feels crazy, especially in the summer when I am busy with the photography stuff. I see. I always see myself doing a little bit of both, and I've kind of combined the senior fitness stuff with the photography. Just the other week, I was out at a assisted living facility, and I did a bunch of portraits for them, because that community is underserved, and the honest truth of it is that when we get to that point in our lives, typically we don't have many pictures of us anymore. And so when we pass away, our loved ones have images of, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I want us to be able to remember our loved ones as they are, right? As they were when, recent, right? And so being able to serve that community feels really good to me. And the senior population is just, I realized over COVID, when I got locked out of the facilities that I was teaching at, that I really miss them. And that that's just it's a real soft spot in my heart for some reason. And I don't know where that comes from, but I can't imagine my life without having that in it, without having that outlet. So I don't know where the future will be with both and how they merge, but maybe it will just be fantastic all around, and I just don't need to know the details.
Yep, that is true. You can wait for it all to just unfold, as I'm sure it will. present
Yes.
itself when the time is right. You've talked in the past a little bit about micro shifts, I think. Tell me a little bit more about what's a micro shift and why do you believe in them?
Yeah. So micro shifts are, like when we want to make a change, but sometimes when we hear the word change, it sounds like a big scary thing, right? It sounds like this we have to like completely revamp our life, right? When we talk about change, but change can be something as small as changing the hand that you brush your teeth with. I mean, that can be change, and that's such a tiny thing. And so I like to condition the brain to think of change as it can be small. It doesn't have to be huge, right? And it can, and those small micro shifts can be the thing that moves us into tiny little micro shifts, one after the other, can move us into a larger change down the road, which can then lead us to better health. And so if you're thinking about it in terms of what we typically think about it in terms of health, which is my fitness or my diet, my lifestyle, that sort of thing, just doing little swaps, right? And so instead of one morning having coffee, maybe you have tea, right? Or maybe instead of that snack for after hours when you get home or whatever, maybe instead of reaching for the bag of chips or the whatever you typically reach for, maybe you just eat an apple. Like it can be just tiny little things, right? Or even as small as just changing the way that you're thinking about something, right? And so a lot of times we get so ingrained in how we live, thinking that the world kind of revolves around us, not to sound like we're conceited, but just because that's just how we think, because we are only living in our own bodies, right? And so thinking maybe how might this affect somebody else? And so just those tiny little things. Yeah. Anyways, so those are the little micro shifts.
So sort of like when, so if you're thinking about losing weight or something, maybe start with a couple pounds instead of the 20 pounds that's always weighing on your mind. Or yeah, like you said, instead of grabbing a bag of chips, grab an apple or grab a couple carrots or something else crunchy. I think that that's really valuable. And I think it's easy for us to get caught up in the overwhelm of bigger goals when small steps headed in the right direction are going to get you there and actually more sustainably, I think, too.
Yes. Yes. And it can even be, I mean, if your goal is to change your relationship around food or to lose weight, I mean, ultimately your first micro shift might be instead of even making a swap with the food, it might even be just asking yourself, even just taking note of what am I eating? Why am I eating it? How do I feel after I eat it? Like it doesn't even have to be an action, but can be a thought process. So,
Yeah, someone mentioned to me too once that when you're looking at your relationship with food, thinking about how am I feeling while I'm eating this food, and then how do I feel the next day? Paying attention to how your body responds to the different things that you're eating, really insightful. And it leads me to another curiosity that I have. So you've gone through, you said you're a certified, was it health and wellness or life coach? I apologize.
health and wellness. Yep.
Okay. During that certification process, was there something that was just like whoa, really? In your learning? Like what's some of the biggest takeaways you got from all of that training?
I think I don't, well, one of the biggest takeaways from the training that I learned is that the most important thing that we can learn as a society is to start reading labels and to understand what those labels mean on the labels on our food products, to really understand like what do the percentages mean, what does acceptable or what was it daily value, something like the quantity of that's the serving size.
Yeah, the percentage of the daily or your daily serving size. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes. So the serving size is not what is actually recommended. The
Oh,
serving size, yeah, surprising, right? The serving size is actually what an average American eats. So that was a kind of I read that and I was like,
wait,
what?
what? We've
Uh-huh.
been duped.
So yes, there's a lot of untruthful behavior that happens behind the scenes, and I really think that just common sense needs to take a center stage again. And I know that a lot of us tend to rely on a higher power or a more educated person for that information, and that's fine. But I do also think that we should still pay attention to what's inside of us and what we know is true
Hmm.
and what we feel we should be doing.
Yeah, I think that is very sage advice. I think we have a tendency to lean in, especially now with the advent of AI. It's so easy to just ask the questions. And I
Hmm.
know it's getting to the point where, some of our younger population is asking the silliest of questions like, oh, AI, tell me, should I have boba or should I have a latte? I mean, even just the different, they're just not even making even the simplest of decisions for themselves. And that is concerning. The idea that information is given to us, but we're not taking the time. We're just trusting. We're just trusting.
Yes. Yes. Don't lose your sense of self. Would be what I would say. Use your common sense, and if you're finding that I mean, our brains are lazy, right? We want to go with the easy route because it's easy, and then we don't have to do anything. And that's fine. We can be completely lazy sometimes, but I think again, just making that micro shift of just asking why. Why am I asking AI what I should be eating or what I should be doing or how I should be feeling? Why am I not asking myself that question? Why is that so hard for me? And kind of turning that back inwards.
That's so important. And I think, yeah, I think someone said to me once, our brain, because it uses less energy. So the less it has to work to think about things, the less energy it's going to use. And therefore your brain is always in that protective state or something. I, I'm not I'm just kind of trying to remember what someone said to me, so don't take that verbatim. But the idea of it is your brain is actually always just trying to survive. So it's going to be doing less is better. So unless you force it to do more, it's going
Yeah.
to just kind of default. Plus our habits, I think too, we just kind of fall into these habits and then we're influenced by the people around us, of course. And what we're consuming. We are such a society of consumption. When you talk about recycling and your eco-conscious behaviors and the things that you're so passionate about all of that. And it just reminds me of what just an overall consuming society we are in so many ways. We consume media, we consume, materials, we consume food, we just consume. This consumption is so high. And I mean, now that I live out here on the road full time, consumption is always top of mind for me, whether it's electricity, water, the food, everything that we have here, because not only do we have limited space, but we're just so much more aware because we're in nature and we're seeing the impacts of it because we're just so much closer to what happens when consumption is out of control. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Something I was actually just reading last night was talking about thinking about because right now we're in a society of kind of like information overload, right? Information is coming at us from every angle that we can possibly imagine, from our phones, from our computers, from the TVs, from everything, right? And so if you think of our consumption and our health and wellness, not just in terms of what we typically think of it as, but also thinking about the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and the information that we take in. That's all part of our diet as well, right? And so the information diet needs a little bit of balancing as well. And so thinking about where you're getting that information from, what is important, what's relevant, and are you balancing that out? So if you're watching the news, if you're bookending your day with the news in the morning and the news in the evening, you've got two kind of icky feeling toward bookends, right? They're not so awesome. But what are you balancing that out with if that's your information diet? And so that's something to think about as well.
So true. And also balancing out what you're consuming. So, we have so many different opinions out there. And it's important to keep tabs on the things that you don't necessarily agree with as well, to make sure that what you're taking in, you're getting a well-balanced diet of information too, to make, those different opinions. You got to hear both sides, whether you agree with it or not. You still need to understand where people are coming from and why they have the beliefs that they do, because they still impact you, whether you believe in them or not.
Yep. Yep. And and I think that's part of the whole, like, the me story, right? Because we walk around and it's always about us, because this is the life that we are experiencing, what we're experiencing, and we're not experiencing what even our spouse is, or our neighbor, or our friend, right? And so we have no idea what it feels like to be in that person's body, to walk in their shoes, to live their life, because we're not doing it. And so to have some compassion around that, yes, it's good for our brains, it's good for our hearts, it's good for understanding and just being an awesome human, to be able to listen to somebody without getting defenses, to listen to somebody, to try to understand their perspective and where they're coming from. Wow, we took a real big turn, didn't we? We're going to
We
solve
did
all
kind
the world's problems.
Maybe one day we'll do that.
Yeah.
But that one simple thing right there, just just setting your guard down and just listening,
Yeah.
without judgment and without always having to combat the thoughts, or to influence, or to change people's mind, or change them. Sometimes it's hard because you care about them and you think that they're doing something that's maybe harmful for them or something else. But the bottom line is, everybody's just trying to do what they think is best for themselves. And it's important for us to understand where that motivation comes from.
That's been a really hard line for me to draw as a health and as a coach,
Yeah.
especially
Okay.
with friends, because you want the best for those people, right? And like, I may see things that they're doing that aren't healthy, right? And they don't, and I think that they should be doing something else, or that they should consider doing something else. But they're not asking for my opinion. They're not ready to receive that information, and I have to respect that. And that's been really hard for me to hold back what I believe I should be sharing, because I want those people to be healthy. I want them to live long. I want them to live well. But I can't always. I have to realize everybody's on their own journey, and wherever they're at is where they're at, and I have to meet them there.
Yes. Such good advice. You do. You just have to meet them there. And then and don't give up though. Don't let it go. I mean, if it's important to you, I'm sure
Yeah.
it's fueled by the right kind of things. So don't give up on it. But yeah, just demonstrate maybe, and kind of be there, and allow. And you're right. You got to allow them to walk their journey and find that on their own. That's
Yeah.
such a big concept, and so hard sometimes, especially when you care so much about, people
Yeah.
close to you. Yeah. All right. So we did kind of take kind of a crazy deep dive there, but with that, this is probably a pretty good segue then. When I think about all of the things that you've accomplished and how thoughtful you've put your world kind of together for yourself and in your business, and the way that you look at people and how you treat them in your business. It's such a beautiful, you're just a beautiful woman inside and out. You're just amazing. And I think that you probably have some incredible advice for anybody else that either is thinking about making that big step like you did so long ago. What would you say to the younger you if you could?
Oh, wow. What would I say to the younger me? Stop being so stubborn. No. I mean, I walked my own journey too. um, I think something I would tell people is that we have a lot more knowledge in our bodies than we know, and to trust yourself. Deep down, I feel like we really know what's best for us when we take a breath and think about it. And so to just put more trust in yourself, more belief in yourself.
Such good advice. I think that's so great. All right, Sarah, where can our guests and where can our listeners find you and how can they get in touch with you? And tell us about any events or special things you got coming up that we can take advantage of.
Yes. Okay, so I'll start with the last things. So I am also doing as a lifelong learner. I am continuing my education in something called acuenergetics, and this is working on your body's own bioelectrical system. So the same electrical system that allows atoms to split and form new atoms and recreate. We all have that electrical system within our body. And so I am working on this acuenergetics. So I'm going through level 3 in September. It's a 12-day intensive. And after, I think it's like the it must be the first through the 12th. I will be taking clients on for wellness balances for that. And so that's just another way for me to help people feel better. And so no needles, no nothing, just using these guys, my hands, to move that energy and to release some blockages within your body. So in mid-September, I will be taking clients on for that. So excited for that journey. People can find me at the photography business, Sarah Grace Photography. They can find me at www.sarahgracephotos.com. Not the word plural, but just the S.
I will have links in the description. And then where else can they find you if they want to learn more about your wellness compass?
Yes, it's urwellnesscompass.com. And so there I cover everything from the group fitness to the health and wellness coaching to the acuenergetics. So you can find more information there. And I also have some great resources on there as well, different podcasts, different books, different resources, things like that for free.
That's awesome. Acuenergetics, that just sounds amazing. That sounds incredible. Good for you. I love that you're just I mean, like I said, you grab onto something and you are all in, girl. Go for it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here today. This has been a spectacular conversation. Time flew.
It did.
We'll have to have you back again soon so we can continue it sometime. But in the meantime, I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful to call you a friend, and I'm just so glad you're in my world. Thank you, Sarah.
Hugs. Thank you, Kristin. It was lovely to be here. Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for listening to the Savvy Leader Podcast. If something in this conversation made you think differently, that's the point. Share this episode with someone who needs it and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's next. For more conversations on clarity, alignment, and real leadership, connect with me through the SavvyLivingNetwork.com and join the conversation at the Savvy Leaders Lounge on Substack. Until next time, lead with intention.